Okay, folks, we got the TJ here up on the lift, the black one, Sahara, that I bought a little while ago and haven't done anything to yet because, well, the frame's rotted, but we're going to address that stuff later on. For now, we're just knocking out other things. Back brakes, I got the wheels off. I just popped the drum off. Figured I'd show you what's going on here. Anyway, drums, come on. All right, so here's our typical drum brake. I mean, they've been this way for 50 years. Wheel cylinders in this case are leaking. This one's not too bad. The other side is totally wet. Brakes aren't really, I mean, they're not great, but they're not at the point where they have to be changed. I'm only changing them because I'm in here doing the wheel cylinders and all my adjusters are seized anyways. They're not moving. That's one of the things the experts will tell you when you go to take a drum brake off. That, oh, you're an idiot. Take the plug out the back and just back the adjuster off. Yeah, nice try, pal. 25-year-old Jeep in the Rust Belt. If you get 1 in 100 that moves, you're the luckiest man alive in the Rust Belt. All right, I just started popping off the springs over here. I figured I'd show you what I mean by a bad wheel cylinder. You can see how wet that is. And if you pull that out, you can see it's just covered. That's just brake fluid. So the first thing you gotta do is get the old pads off. I just start with these locks usually. I know this isn't the right tool, but it does the job. There you go. They're rusted on. Usually they fall out. They're actually rusted in there. That one don't even want to come loose. Good thing I sprayed everything with penetrating oil yesterday. There you go. So there's what you got, these little caps with like a slot in them. I just stopped popping off springs. Alright, so with those off, you see, you're basically done. You got one spring on the bottom, an adjuster, and a park brake, and cables and things to worry about, but there's your brakes off. You can see here, there's a piece of a broken spring in here, which would be this one from the separator bar here. That's the end. So you can see that's why you, up here in the Rust Belt, you always buy your spring kits, because that's what they always look like. Anyways, for the emergency brake, which is the only thing still attached, is your park brake. You don't need to take this cable off of here. Alright, unless you're going right at it and changing it, there's no reason for it. You can disconnect the arm from the brake pad and leave it hanging. You don't need to mess with it. Alright, and there's what you're looking at for brakes. This cable should be up back behind there like that. And we're going to leave it together. As we put it apart, we can reference this and spins it. And this is completely seized on this. So I'm getting no adjustment. So this needs to be pulled off and cleaned. The cable is kept. This piece is kept. Everything else is replaced with a spring kit. The adjuster stuff we keep. There's your wheel cylinder on the back. You got a 10. This is your bleeder. It's got a little rubber cap on it. And then your brake line has to come off. If your brake lines are in bad shape, now's a good time to replace them. All right, brake line's disconnected. Nothing to that. I got a rag off it because it's just dripping. There's your two little bolts. You can see how small they are. And they tend to get really rusted here. This is supposed to be a 10 millimeter. I had to use a 3/8 because 3/8 is just a hair smaller. So, nothing of that. Now we're just going to pop that wheel cylinder out of there. So if you're wondering what's inside of a wheel cylinder, look at the debris in here. Tells you it's been leaking a while. It's brake fluid and brake dust mixed together. You got your spring in the middle with its little caps that are on it. A rubber seal, and it always goes in with the raised edge inwards. Your piston, okay, which goes in like that, with the edge out, and then a rubber cap. You can rebuild these because you get all this stuff in a kit. You use a hone in here to clean all the rust, and man, that's rough in there. All that out, you can put it all back together. But these things are only worth about $8, and you get a new bleeder screw. So why would you bother? All right, new wheel cylinder. There's a Dorman. There's your part number if you need it. Ah, look at that. Nice and shiny, pre-assembled with a bleeder. Loosen your bleeder while you got it out because they tend to put these in really tight, and it's easier to do it before you put it in. All right, back brake pad. How do I know it's a back brake pad? One, it's longer. It has more material on it. Two, it has that pin on it right there. All right, so we got the wheel cylinder screw back in. Brake line's not hooked up yet. It's in there, it's tight. We got the left brake pad or the rear brake pad on with the retainer. Nothing to that. Like I said, just hold the pin with one finger, turn it in, give it 90-degree turn. That's it. The emergency brake lever, you can see sitting in there. That's this lever down here. The one that we left hooked up to the cable. All right, it just sits in there. Don't gotta worry about it. That's it, that's it. We'll put our bar in now. Okay, so you need to know which way your spring goes. So go like that.
The same guys have to do all the scoring, or you might as well not turn the game on.
All right, cleaned the adjuster up on the wire wheel there. Everything's spinning the way it's supposed to now. So we're good. Save that adjuster. All the way in when you install it, it's just easier. All right, I'll try and show you this. So your spring, the hook part, like this. You should have to push down for it against the spring to get it to go on there. And then you end up with this. Now you take this guy from underneath. You see you got two holes. The bigger hole, put that on, push it up, rotate it down. Once you get it down here, it shouldn't come off. Now, this spring, take it in front. All right, sometimes you need a tool because it's kind of a stiff spring and that's kind of what you want. Like that, so that you have downwards pressure on it. That's all there is to that. Goes on super easy. Okay, front pad, as you can see if you look at the brake material, there's way less on the front. Okay, so that's how you know your front one on this. And the lack of the pin on the bottom here, obviously. So let's put this guy on. Same thing, we're just gonna use that retainer pin, put it in there. All right, front brake pad just held in. Made sure the bar here is in the right place, springs on it. Okay, so everything's kind of held. Nothing's gonna fall out now. This is what we want. You could put springs in different orders, and some people put these in last. I like them first because now I can work without having things falling off and trying to juggle things. If one spring goes flying, it doesn't fall off. So this is just the way I do it. Next is this spring here. Goes along the bottom, connects two brake pads. Now there's a big hole down here on both sides. That's all you're connecting. Hooks in like that and like that. Just leave it. Now you're going to say, but you forgot your adjuster, dummy. Trust me, the adjuster is the easiest piece to put in on this setup. And unfortunately we're using this old cable, but it's dirty, but it's not rotted out or anything, so it'll work. On the bottom you got it, this spring here. Okay, what you're doing is this part of the hook is hooking onto this bracket. Okay, so all you're going to do is go in behind and hook it over like that. All right, so you can see it's the thing that does the pulling on that lever. Now you're going to need this guy. That pushes into this hole and it should sit flat. A lot of people will put grease back there, but it doesn't move, so it really doesn't need grease. The only reason to grease it so it would come out easier. All right, so this cable goes around it. It's kind of, think of it like a pulley. It's got a groove in it. Okay, so what holds this in is one of your main springs here. We don't want to put that on yet though, because we got to put this cable loop around. So we're just gonna go around that little piece. It's got a slot in it. Just push up on your thing, your adjuster, to take the tension off the cable and let it down. That ain't going anywhere now. Now you can put this hook on. Now we can put this spring on and hold it all in place. Like so. Boing. All right, our cable come off, but that's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. All you got to do here is push up on this, pull it out to where it is, put it back around that piece. That little guide there. There we go. Can anybody guess what's left? That's right, the adjuster. All right, so we're gonna put this guy in. Just put it in here like this. Line up that in. You see, it's pretty close already. All we gotta do is turn this so it's straight up and down. Pull that spring a little bit. There you go. Adjuster is now in. brakes are now assembled. And again, the adjuster, if you want to test it, just pull on the cable right here. Okay, so the last thing we got to do here is hook up our brake line again. And it's going to need to be bled, obviously. All right, there's the image of the brakes all put back together. As it stands, all I got to do is do some minor adjustment here when I put the drum back on to make sure I got the brakes fairly close. All right, so there's the drum on, and you can see that's really loose. 10 turns, still pretty loose. Go 15, that's 25 turns. And now I can't get the drum on. And this is what I'm trying to show you. So you can do it this way, it's pretty quick. That's not going on. So now all we do is we pull this away and we rotate it back the other way. Let's go 5 turns. Push your brakes back in a bit. Try it. And you can see now we can kind of get it on. There we go. There we go. Just dragging. I can feel the pads touching, but not so much that I can't rotate it. And there is fine adjustment again. If we find it's not quite right, we can just click a click with the wheels on. So that's the way you do your drum brakes on the TJ. Drum brakes really didn't change a whole lot in a lot of years, so if it works for a TJ, it's going to work for just about everything. I mean, the adjuster for the park brake is usually where the differences start to come into play, but the springs and all that is pretty much the same on most of them. I mean, you don't have to go very far to see the similarities. Anyways, that's it for this one, folks. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.